So I'm currently working on getting my newly acquired Honda Del Sol to pass state inspections. And this is something that the two previous owners before me have failed to do. So the biggest issue they've had is the emissions test, which they have been failing, I presume, because they have been running a Sport Cat and also a bad map. And because of this, the car has been pretty much standing still for the last 2 or 3 years. And I've only had it for about 3 weeks, but I've already been able to do quite a bit on it already. So today I'm gonna look at my rear brakes that have been squeaking and getting hot. And I also start working on getting some better airflow to the engine. This is not necessary for inspection, but it's just something I want to do. So I started by removing the wheel and the two 12mm bolts that's on the back side of the caliper, one on the top and one on the bottom. I had some issues getting the caliper off, and yeah, you'll see why in a second. So these brake pads were probably the most worn pads I've ever seen. Definitely the most worn I've ever had on a car. Like maybe 1mm. So I'm pretty sure I find the reason for the hot and squeaky brakes right here. The piston in the caliper is stuck in this position. And without cleaning it and using some oil, it was pretty much impossible to screw it in or out. So I did this a few times until it came in and out fairly easily. I got in the car, braked, and then I could tell that the caliper it went out and it retracted all the way back. So I think we're good for now. And yes, it pains me to have to put these brake pads back on the car, but it's all I have at the moment, and I got new ones on the way, so it'll get new fresh pads in a couple of days. And I'm also aware that this is far from the most optimal or safest place to work on your car, but sometimes you just have to work with what you got and pray that you get a garage one day. So it's time to take for a test ride and just make sure that the brakes works as intended, and then I'll move on with start working on my air intake system. So the brake seems to be working fine. I no longer hear any squeaking, and after a drive the brakes weren't as hot as they used to get in the back. So what I want to do is put a pipe from the opening in the front bumper that goes up to my air filter, so it will lead cool fresh air to the filter. For this I got this flexible plastic pipe with the aluminum ends with rounded corners. And from what I read, this is not the most optimal for airflow because you have a lot of ridges on the inside that cause turbulence, and it's also not that it's kind of heat sensitive plastic, but it's super flexible. And the plan is to cut an opening, not that big, in this part of the chassis, that bulge, to cut maybe a half circle to allow for more airflow. So let me just show you how it's gonna look on the inside. So the pipe is gonna come out there from the scoop, and then it's gonna make a left turn and then go up into a hole that's above that, right behind where the filter is right now. So here's a better view of what I'm actually gonna cut from the inside. And here's the hole that I'm gonna lead the pipe through, and it comes down right there, and then does a little right turn. So with the pipe inserted at the top, I noticed that the 3-inch pipe is too wide to actually fit in between the radiator and the chassis here, so I'm considering putting a vertical scoop right there with a 3-inch connector for the pipe. Hopefully my good buddy can 3D print this scoop for me. So since I didn't have time to start cutting in the metal today, I temporarily bolted it onto the chassis right there and put on the top of that pipe. So here you can see a mock-up of how it's gonna look. So I realized I haven't really shown you guys the car, so I thought I would do a little walk around here so you can see what it looks like. And then I'm ending with some more POV driving clips. Yeah, so it's really nice in the paint. It was repainted by a professional like 5 or 6 years ago, and it's held up very nicely. I got the Body Club 16-inch rims. The electric rear window is one of my favorite things about the Del Sol. And here you can see the back of the OEM Recaros from the Honda Accord Type R, which I'm very fond of. They sit very well in this car. So here comes some driving clips where I try to get the intake air temp as high as possible. Before putting on this pipe, I got up to around 81 degrees Celsius. So after a while of me driving, doing some VTEC pulls, I couldn't get it above 76 degrees Celsius. Granted, it was 1 or 2 degrees Celsius colder than before, but the pipe isn't even halfway done yet. I still need a scoop and everything, so I don't know, it's impossible to say how much it does without a dyno, but still nice to see some lower numbers. Alright, enjoy the rest of the video freed from my annoying voice. I'm sorry, but also thank you for watching.